In Nigeria, a shadowy industry thrives beneath the surface, hidden from public view, but inflicting deep scars on the nation's communities. These underground operations, known as baby factories, have been operating for years, raising alarming concerns about the exploitation of vulnerable women and the commercialization of children. A baby factory is a term used to describe an underground facility where women are coerced, manipulated, or forced into becoming pregnant and then giving birth. The infants born in these facilities are often sold to the highest bidder, with couples struggling with infertility, human traffickers, or illegal adoption agencies among the potential buyers. The motivations behind these factories vary, but they often involve monetary gain, trafficking, and the exploitation of women and children. Many of the women who fall prey to baby factories come from vulnerable backgrounds. They may be young girls facing economic hardship, victims of human trafficking, or individuals deceived by promises of a better life. These women are often subjected to deplorable living conditions and inadequate prenatal care, putting their health and the health of their unborn children at risk. Nigeria has taken steps to address the issue of baby factories. The Child Rights Act of 2003 criminalizes the sale and trafficking of children, and several arrests have been made in connection with baby factories. However, challenges persist, including corruption, lack of resources, and weak law enforcement, allowing many baby factories to continue operating in the shadows. Often small businesses disguised as private medical clinics, orphanages, or even social welfare homes, these factories are part of the wider human trafficking industry. Children harvesting, the systematic sale of human children, has risen as a lucrative trade. Human rights organizations have been vocal in their condemnation of baby factories, calling for a comprehensive and coordinated response to eradicate this abhorrent practice. They emphasize the need to protect the rights of women and children who have been victimized and to hold those responsible accountable for their actions.
The agency had over time, especially in the Southeast, noticed some of these issues as it affects baby sales, the teenage pregnant girls running out of homes, and unfortunately, these are the issues that drive baby sales.
Several factors contribute to the existence of baby factories in Nigeria. Social stigma plays a significant role. Desperate teenagers with unwanted pregnancies are sometimes convinced to give up their babies for financial gain.
A very religious mother, a very religious father finds out that a teenage daughter, has become pregnant. For reasons of religiosity or whatever, faith, just to avoid being shamed or embarrassed, decides that the best response to this is to drive the child away. And what happens? She becomes cherry picking for abusers or for those who want to cash in on this issue. It's a common trend that is noticed, and people know, and people don't want to tell. Adoption is such a beautiful thing. But why are we not able to go through the process? Well, I've had issues, people complaining that the process and the part is tedious and is tortuous. But if we forget that it's a child, it's a human being, you're not going to buy a car. Neither are you going to buy a piece of chattel. So the process has to be tedious.
Additionally, the stigmatization of infertility in the country leads to a high demand for babies by infertile couples who are unwilling to associate publicly with adoption or surrogacy due to the additional stigma attached to it. Poverty is also an important factor. A 2022 report by the National Bureau of Statistics stated that in Nigeria, 40.1% of people are basically poor according to the monetary poverty line, and 63% are extremely poor. Multidimensional poverty is higher in rural areas where 72% of people are poor compared to 42% of people in urban areas. To young women who are more vulnerable to coercion by traffickers, breeding babies is presented as an easy means of making money. As a naturally patriarchal society, male children are valued more than female children and hence are sold at a higher price. Sometimes, to produce babies, women are kidnapped and raped. These babies are then forcefully taken away from them and sold for adoption, often abroad, or trafficked to become prostitutes or child laborers. We spoke to 16-year-old Miriam, who shared a story with us off camera that she was approached by an elderly woman at Madinatu Internally Displaced Persons Camp in Nigeria's northeastern Borno state in 2019. The woman who approached her asked her if she was interested in moving to the city of Enugu to work as a housemaid in exchange for cash. She even lured another cousin of hers, Rhoda, into it. Miriam and Rhoda thought their jobs were to clean the compound and to do household chores, just as the woman led them to believe, but their new employers had other ideas. They were told to stay alone in separate rooms the first night. Later that night, a man walked into Miriam's room and raped her. The same thing happened to Rhoda. The girls said they were raped almost daily by different men. Within a month, they got pregnant. Almost a dozen girls were packed inside the compound when Miriam and Rhoda first arrived, but the number changed as the girls gave birth and were sent away. And then new girls were brought in to produce more children for the trafficking cartel. When Miriam gave birth to a baby boy in the compound, her son was taken from her. 3 days later, she was blindfolded and taken to a bus station where her traffickers made sure she boarded a vehicle back to the north. The ugly trend typifies Miriam and Rhoda's ordeal, who are just 2 out of 1 million persons trafficked each year in Nigeria. Recently, Nigerian investigative journalist Fisayo Shoyombo carried out an investigation and eventually penetrated Arrows of God orphanage that had been selling babies under the table. The orphanage had sold a baby to Shoyombo and his fake wife for 2 million naira, which is about $1,800, in cahoots with the police and the judiciary. In an interview with journalists, Shoyombo emphasized on the need for the government to discover those deeply involved behind the scenes in this scandal.
The culprits have to be arrested and prosecuted. If people do wrong and the authorities don't make an example of them, don't let their cases serve as deterrent to other people, then the crime is going to continue.
He spoke on original documents acquired in the adoption process that suggested that he and his fake wife had been background checked and found suitable to adopt the baby. Meanwhile, this was a false transaction carried out with the cooperation of the police and the judiciary. He stated that the police are complicit, saying 2 court officials signed the document saying, "I was in court, my wife was in court, the welfare officer was in court," and then they followed the process and they saw that we could take care of the baby and they gave us. There is a seal, it's an original document, it's not fake. Shoyombo also said the government should identify the people in court involved in this document, why they signed the document and how much they got from it.
I don't think it's for the police to come and defend themselves. I think it's for them to find the perpetrators. Who are the guys in the police who authored that crime report, saying someone had come and then someone prepared that police document. And don't forget, the founder of Arrows of God had said, we will pay entitlement to the police and the court to get it out. So it's clear, it's not about defense, it's about making an example of the criminals, because it's a crime. And then the courts. Look, you can't sanction the passing on of a baby to someone that you haven't seen. And they got out a court paper, purporting that I was in court, my wife was in court, the welfare officer was in court, and it was a decision taken in person by the court that we could have the baby. Of course, they didn't do it for free. So it's not a case of the institutions, coming out to defend themselves. It's about coming out to make an example of the culprits and clean up their houses.
Shiombo also said the government should identify the people in court involved in this document, why they signed the document and how much they got from it. However, some success stories have been recorded by the police. In June 2023, operatives of the Nigerian police in Rivers State said they busted a suspected baby-making factory and rescued 6 pregnant girls. In September, the Delta State Police Command arrested 2 male suspects and rescued 3 pregnant women from a baby factory. In November 2022, officers of the Nasarawa State Police Command raided a baby factory located in Ado-Kasa, Karu local government area of the state and arrested suspects behind the emerging child trafficking. Nonetheless, the existence of baby factories in Nigeria represents a deeply troubling issue that calls for urgent attention and action. It is a stark reminder of the vulnerabilities faced by many women and children in the country and the need for comprehensive efforts to protect their rights and well-being. Eradicating baby factories requires a multi-pronged approach, including legislative reforms, improved law enforcement, community engagement, and support for survivors. Only by addressing this issue holistically can Nigeria hope to eliminate the stain of baby factories and protect its most vulnerable citizens.